What's up everyone, how's it going? This is Waj, hope you guys are all doing well, and in this video I'll be doing my full review of the new Pebble Time smartwatch. Now I've been using my Pebble Time, which I got from the Kickstarter campaign, for a couple of months now, and I've been really liking it overall. I really wanted to set some time for me to do a proper review on it, and here it is. So without any further ado, if you're interested in seeing whether the Pebble Time is worth getting, this is a perfect video for you. So without any further ado, let's get right into this. Now in terms of the design of the Pebble watch, you can see over here that it definitely looks a lot better than the original Pebble, which felt like something you would get out of a Kinder Surprise toy. Now you have a stainless steel border that goes around the watch. It still mainly consists of polycarbonate plastics, but it's still fairly durable. It has Gorilla Glass technology in terms of the glass, so it's very resistant in terms of scratches, and it's also fairly water resistant as well. It has no problems in being fully submerged for a prolonged period of time. Just make sure that the temperature is fairly consistent in the water and you don't go too deep. Now that being said, some people still may find the look of the Pebble Time still a little bit retro and overtly geeky. Others, on the other hand, may find some charm into the Pebble's Time design based on those same notions. Whatever your personality preferences are, you still have to admit that the Pebble Time doesn't take itself too seriously, which is a nice change in this world of bland, really serious consumer electronic devices. Now in terms of the ergonomics and comfort, looking at the standard strap that comes with the Pebble Time, is basically a black silicone strap. You also have some different color options, but it's pretty standard. The nice thing is you can change out to any 22mm strap, so it's pretty universal in terms of its customization and when it comes to the strap options. Now let's talk about the specifications that comes with the Pebble Time. Internally, it's not that much different from the original Pebble, so it's pretty underpowered compared to most of your smartwatch devices that are out there, but you have to keep in mind that the whole architecture is designed around the ARM Cortex M4 processor that's in this thing. It can clock up to about 100 megahertz, which does seem pretty slow for most modern standards. And in terms of internal memory, it can house about 50 applications with about 128 megabytes of internal storage. In terms of connectivity options, it solely depends upon a Bluetooth 4.0 connection to connect to your smartphone. There's no NFC, unfortunately, and no Wi-Fi built into the device. Now, even though the Pebble Time is kind of underpowered by contemporary standards, when you actually start to use the thing on a day-to-day basis, you'll find that it's pretty snappy and pretty responsive. There's no real major hiccups or delay on certain applications or checking your notifications. So for pretty much 99% of the things that you'll do on the Pebble Time, it's quite snappy in giving you everything you need in a quick instant, despite having pretty underpowered specifications. Now, the one big difference between this and the original Pebble is the new display. It's fairly similar in terms of size, 1.25 inches to be exact, and in terms of resolution, it measures about 144 by 168, giving it a PPI count of about 182. And you can certainly see that in terms of resolution, it's not up to par with some of the other smartwatches that are available in the marketplace. But again, when you compare it to the original Pebble, which had a monochromatic screen, now you do have a e-paper color display, which is definitely nice to see there. It's passively illuminated by the environment that you're going to be in, as well as it has a small backlight as well. Not as powerful as a backlight they would find in an OLED screen or an LCD screen, but it's pretty usable at night and really great when you're using it outdoors because it can be illuminated by the sun. So definitely a nice touch there. Additionally, the screen is always on and always accessible to you, so that's really great to see as well. And there's some huge benefits to having an e-ink display, some of the ones that we just mentioned, but mainly it's going to give you amazing battery performance, and we'll get to the battery performance of what I got on the Pebble Time. But really, this display is there to save battery life, and that's what it does really well. Now, in order to control your Pebble Time, you're going to use the 4 buttons on the device itself. There's no capacitive touchscreen like you find in most other smart watches and things like that, and that is a pro and a con. Pro in the sense that you can basically use the device without having to look at it. If you want to dismiss alarms or text messages or notifications, you could just hit a certain button and you'll kind of feel that button once you get used to the layout of the button configuration on the Pebble Time. The downside is that it's not as easy and as intuitive to use as a regular touchscreen, but again, it's not a big deal since the operating system on the Pebble is so easy to use and it's specifically designed for those buttons. It's pretty intuitive and it's not going to cause too much confusion for new users. Now, we do have a microphone on the Pebble Time Time. Unfortunately, you can't use it to do voice commands or voice search like you can with Google Android Wear devices or the Siri platform we have on the Apple Watch. At this point, the microphone has limited functionality. It's primarily there to do voice replies to text messages and certain messages. So hopefully there might be something in the future, perhaps a firmware upgrade to do voice search or voice commands, but at this point, we don't have those kind of options. Now, if you use the previous generation Pebble and you move over to the Time, you'll see that there's not a lot of difference in terms of the operating system. The one big thing that they have introduced as a major feature on this smartwatch is the new timeline interface. And basically what this allows you to do is organize your time based on events that happened on the past and based on planned events that are going to happen inevitably in the future. And you can basically customize your own timeline. You can set up pins depending upon what kind of applications you have installed. So if you're a fan of a certain sports team, you can use the ESPN app to check what the current score is, as well as upcoming games that are going to happen in the future. It'll sync with your Google Calendar app, so you can have all your scheduling all synced up, which is really nice. And again, if you want more detailed information about each appointment, you have that information available to you with just a click of a button. It'll also give you things like weather information. Again, this whole timeline feed is completely custom to your specific preferences, and you can do that either within the watch or using your smartphone. Now, the one thing that really impresses me about pretty much all of the Pebble smartwatches is the fact that they really deliver on battery performance. There's pretty much nothing comparable to them, and that's primarily due to the fact that their architecture is very simple. They're using a very simple operating system. The hardware is very power efficient thanks to the e-ink display and the Cortex M4 processor, and even though this thing has a very small battery, 140 milliamp hours, it can still last a heck of a long time, about a week on most circumstances. For me personally, I got around 8 to 9 days after a couple of months of usage. When I initially got the Pebble Time, it wasn't as long lasting as the original Pebble, but once I broken in the battery a little bit, used it for a couple of cycles, it again averaged for about 8 to 9 days, which is really darn impressive to see, even if you're a heavy duty user. So in terms of battery performance, there's nothing really that competes with this thing. Now, just to summarize everything we talked about, let's do a pros and cons list to see whether the weaknesses overshadow the advantages or vice versa. So we'll start with the pros over here. And the first thing I want to mention is the battery life is absolutely sensational. It's up there with previous generation Pebble smartwatches, if not a little bit better. Sometimes I had the thing running over 8 to 9 days, which is really darn impressive. Never had any kind of other consumer electronic device that kind of matched up to the battery performance of this thing. And that's obviously due to the fact of its internal architecture and very high efficiency and low power display. The other great thing about the Pebble is the fact that you can use it on both platforms in terms of iOS and Android, so that's fantastic for most of you guys out there. Furthermore, we liked the e-paper display that's on the Pebble Watch, specifically because it's on all the time. You don't really have to flick your wrist up to turn on the backlight. It just uses the natural illumination of your environment, which is really fantastic. Continuing forth, in terms of the app library, we have a pretty large library in comparison to other smartwatch platforms, specifically because the Pebble Time is compatible with all the original Pebble apps previously found in the first gen product. So that's really great to see. In terms of essential apps, you have everything out there, but there's a lot of different specialty apps that you'll find fairly useful in the app library. In terms of software, one of the big things about the Pebble Time is the timeline interface. It's a great way to manage your entire day in terms of scheduling, weather, notifications, everything. It does a great job of kind of utilizing all the different things that Pebble has learned throughout the years of making smartwatches, and that's a really fantastic implementation of how you should use a smartwatch and how you should manage your time. Last but not least, I want to mention that I really do like the fact that you can use any 22mm strap options. Additionally, there is great potential for the smart strap options, hopefully coming out soon. You'll find NFC capabilities, heart rate monitors. There's even stuff in the forums talking about solar panel watches and stuff that enables wireless charging and all those things. So there's definitely a lot of potential for the Pebble Time in the future. Now, the things that I didn't like about the Pebble Time include the fact that it doesn't have any voice commands features specifically for getting informations like you can with OK Google system on Android Wear and the Siri platform on the Apple Watch. There is no way to kind of call up a central voice command system and ask simple questions like you can on those popular smartwatch platforms. And although you can still reply using voice commands to text messages and things like that, it's still pretty limited, and I think a failed opportunity from Pebble's part. Continuing forth, this may be a little bit more of a personal matter in terms of design preference, but I think some people may find the look of the Pebble a little bit too retro, a little bit too geeky, and eventually a little bit too cheap compared to the premium smartwatches we have out there. Now, obviously, you can get the steel version of the Pebble watch, but you're going to have to pay extra. Even though the Pebble Time is a fairly good improvement from the original Pebble, I think there's still some room for improvement to get the acceptance of everyone out there. Continuing forth, another thing that makes the Pebble look a little bit cheaper and less premium is the display. Now, obviously, there's some great advantages to the display in terms of battery life and passive backlighting and all that stuff. But in terms of the overall experience you get, the color e-ink display is nice, an improvement from regular traditional monochromatic e-ink displays, but it still doesn't compare to a proper OLED display that you'll find on the Apple Watch and indeed many of the Android Wear devices. So definitely subpar there in terms of the display technology. Continuing forth, there's quite a lot of features missing from the Pebble Time, specifically when it comes to having a heart rate monitor. A lot of people expect that on a premium smartwatch. Additionally, it doesn't have any NFC capabilities, just use Bluetooth, so that's definitely another failed opportunity, especially for people that want to use Apple Pay and Google Wallet with their watch, which a lot of smartwatches are offering these days. And last but not least, one of my biggest gripes about the Pebble Time is the fact that it's more or less very similar to the original Pebble. Sure, there's minor upgrades in terms of the color display, but in terms of most of the experience you get, it's pretty much very, very similar. There's not a whole whack of software features that completely revolutionizes the smartwatch. It's a small step up, but definitely not a big revolution, which I was kind of hoping. The biggest downside was the fact that the OS is fairly simple and again, easy to use, but limiting compared to some of the more premium smartwatches out there from Samsung, Apple, LG, Motorola, etc. So still at this point, the Pebble Time is more of a niche device that's going to facilitate the needs for most people that are interested in having a basic smartwatch. For those people that want something a little bit more fancy or a little bit more premium, it still needs to fill that void, and I don't think slapping a steel frame on the Pebble Time is going to help with the steel version of this watch coming out very, very soon. But generally speaking, I wish there was a bigger overhaul on the software, something that would make apps navigation a little bit more easy, and certainly an upgrade in terms of the internals. Now, there's no problems in terms of speed, but I have the notion that there are some limitations in terms of the internal processing capabilities compared to the most of your contemporary smartwatches out there. And certainly the library of apps is growing on both the Google Android Wear side and the Apple Watch side. So there's some stiff competition, but I think overall there's still a lot of great things that the Pebble Time offers. It's just up to you on what you want from your smartwatch. In most cases, I think a lot of people will be happy with a device like the Pebble Time. Certainly I am, mostly due to its battery life and some of the factors of the screen being really great to use and view in outdoor, sunny, bright lit environments. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and definitely check out some of the comparisons we've done about the Pebble Time compared to the Apple smartwatch. We're also going to have a big 2015 smartwatch showdown where I compare all of the best smartwatches that have come out so far. That should be a very, very interesting video. So thanks again for your support, and we'll see you later. Take care.